Hello, hi. Hope everyone's good today. This is just regarding vaccine mandates, because I keep seeing it everywhere. I keep seeing a lot of fear. People are very worried that they're going to mandate these vaccines. So, in my opinion, I think that they're probably either a placebo or possibly a DNA upgrader or activator for consciousness, to get people to expand, because the masses are just acting pretty crazy and quite robotic still, and so we need to speed things up. So that's just my take on it. Some people are going to agree with that, some people won't, whatever, it's your choice. It's all, I'm just putting it there. So regarding government mandates, certainly in the UK there are no government mandates. I was actually just going to look this up before I came on, and then I forgot, so I'm just going to quickly look this up on let's have a look. They cannot make a any vaccine mandated compulsory as long as there is another treatment for that. So yes, here we go. So there has been a ban lifted to allow UK blood plasma to be used for life-saving treatments. Government removes ban on UK sourced blood plasma for manufacture of immunoglobulins. Use of plasma donations to treat COVID-19. So if you just go on to recommended from SABTO, so that is the recommendations from the Advisory Committee on the Safety of Blood, Tissues and Organs, SABTO, SABTO, on the use of convalescent plasma to treat COVID-19. I'm reading this directly from gov.uk. Hold on. Basically, this was announced on the 5th of June 2020, so this still stands, and they've actually done more regarding this, because the ban that was lifted to allow UK blood plasma to be used for life-saving treatments was, that page was actually updated on the 25th of February 2021, so very, very recently. So they're still doing much to make sure that this treatment is available, and all the while that this treatment is available, there cannot be a mandate on a vaccine. So basically, I actually can't remember what the legislation is for this, but I know there is legislation. As long as there is a treatment for any condition, the vaccine for that said condition or disease, I don't believe in it. That I'm in full support of terrain model in the 3D sense, and consciousness, being able to create or cancel at will in an expanded what we call state, or multidimensionally, or because all theirs and his are now. So that's my take on it. So this is why the vaccine cannot be mandated, number one. Number two, the second thing I want to touch on is, so lots of people are frightened that their companies that they work for, their employers, are going to make them have a jab. I hate that word, actually. Are going to make them, because it just sounds really, when you jab someone, it's an assault on your body. It doesn't feel very nice. It hasn't got a very nice frequency. So when we'll just call it a vaccine. That's what they're calling it. So we'll just go with that for now. So if your employer is saying you have to have a vaccine, or we're going to dismiss you, you can't keep your job. Okay. Now, this is not only illegal, it's unlawful as well, but mainly through legislation it is illegal. And the reason being is this: it's very, very easy. When a company is formed, the company registers with Companies House. Now, this is a Department of Gov, okay? And this is a process not just in the United Kingdom, this is a process in all countries of the world. You register your company with the government, you get a company number, and then you pay various taxes, and there is various legislation regarding the nature of your business and an overall business in general. There's legislation that you have to adhere to, okay? So companies can then write their own policies for things, anything they want. They can write policies about anything, for standards, health and safety, this, that and the other. However, any policy that they write cannot override statute. So, for example, I'll explain it because a lot of people might relate to this. I'll explain it in, I'll give you an example that a lot of people might relate to. For example, the Housing Act, I think it's 1988. So, if a building becomes damp or, for example, or structurally not safe, if you're renting that property from a landlord, then statute says in these cases that, or in certain cases, that the landlord has certain responsibilities that they have to do. The tenant is never responsible for structural damage to the property, obviously unless they've caused it. But this is the landlord's responsibility. So the landlord can then he can write a tenancy agreement and he can put a clause in it if he wants to say if there's any damp in the property, then the tenant is responsible for paying it. But if he writes that and damp appears and the tenant says, hold up a second, in the Housing Act 1988, it says that this is the landlord's responsibility. So if the landlord insists, or he tries to evict the tenant because the tenant won't fix the damp, for example, the tenant can then take him to court and he can go, but in the Housing Act it says this, so you've got to fix it and you can't evict me for it. And the tenant will win because that's what the statute says, right? So if your employer is saying to you, you've got to have a vaccine or you can't have your job, there's no legislation to say companies can implement medical procedures that, I have to add, are experimental at the moment because they're not fully tested, and every animal that they put this into either got really super sick or dropped dead. Because the mandate is not in statute, it can never be enforced. Okay? So there is the Coronavirus Act, but, you know, if you read through it, if there's anything that says, basically, that you have to have, I don't think there is, but if there's anything that says, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if there is anything that says your employers can make you have this, no, they can't, because it's not mandated. Vaccines are not mandated in the United Kingdom. And then also you have the human rights. So, and by the way, I'm talking, this is for people who are still moving and navigating in the old system, because this is old. And 8 years ago, today, the 18th of March, 2013, Heather Antucci-Giraffe did the final OPPT UCC filing. You can find it on i-uv.com. And if you go into the menu, it's called OPPT Tool Complete. And it's the Eternal Essence filing. She closed everything down. Every government, every bank, they were all noticed of this on the 28th of November 2012. No one rebutted it. And UCC, even everything she shut down. So no one has any authority to tell you, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, etc., etc. We're living in a world where we're transitioning to from an old system of control to a system of no limits without prejudice. I have to I have to highlight and overlight that without prejudice, because we're not out to harm people. No one's out to harm people. If everyone is source of all that is, you are source, you are all is you. When you have an intention, not only is it to harm, it's not only not supported by the new energies, but also it would be the same as harming yourself. And that is not it. We are way past that. And even though the collective might look like they're not expanding, they are expanding. And we are not, if you go for harming people, then you're harming yourself. And it's just, we're not supporting that anymore. So they can't mandate, one, because this is why as well, I think that people give it all sorts of labels, the light, the dark, good, evil, etc., etc. But really, all is you. And we are in a place where I feel the light is really just information, but and being in the dark is like, being in the dark, when it's a phrase we use in England. If you're in the dark about something, it means you don't know about it, you don't have the data. So but also it can be taken as meaning good and evil. And but I do believe there's so many anomalies right now that people are in government. For example, they've written this convalescent plasma treatment, and they kept it on their website. That means they can't mandate this vaccine. So that means that it seems to me that although it might not look like everybody is working for the light, actually everybody is working for the light now, because they're creating these anomalies so that you wake up, so that you are triggered and you think, aha, something is not quite right here, I'm going to delve a little bit further. So yes, if there is a company that you work for and they are insisting on this, you tell them that there is no current legislation to mandate vaccines, that mandates vaccines, and the company is registered. You can quote their company number if you have it, and you say your company is registered with the government under company number blah blah blah. You can send them their own link to Companies House if you want, and you can say that you so therefore their company policy to say that you have to have a vaccine in order to work cannot be upheld because it overrides statute. And what you can also say is that that so therefore it is illegal. And you can also say that there is also no legislation saying that if you don't have this medical procedure, you can be discriminated against and struck off from your job. And that if they do carry on, then you can take legal action against them, and you can make a very public thing about that. You can also work energetically and decide that nobody is telling you what to do. And you can just decide that you're not paying attention to being told that you need a vaccine in order to work, or we're going to sack you, etc. And you can just walk around and make sure that you're in your bubble and you are not affected. And as much as some people might go, she's absolutely mental, saying you're in your bubble and you can't be affected by it. But that is how energetics work. So that's, I hope that clears everything up. So people don't need to be getting depressed about this. People don't need to get anxiety about this. People don't need to take overdoses, and people don't need to commit suicide about this, because it's really very simple and concise what needs to be said and what needs to be done. You know, I can try and put a generic letter under the bio here, you know, if anyone needs any help, as always, you know, let me know and I will do my best to sort it out, because it's not hard really. It's a paragraph at the end of the day, and your life is worth much more than a paragraph and a stupid bit of legislation that is actually completely fucking invalid. So you know, please let the black cloud lift if you're in this low vibe about this and you're in fear and you're frightened. Please don't be frightened. Here you go, Sam. If you don't be frightened, because there's nothing to be frightened of. So yeah, just wanted to confirm that, and any questions, put them in the comments and I will answer. Okay, take care, have a nice day everyone. Bye.